Okay, so
Yes,
we can
we are
start
streaming now.
this overview. It gives a little, not summary, but the topic of each chapter. So it's a good way to start, analyze what we're going into. So first is a preface, Bhakti Ras. Srila Prabhupada gives us a history of nectar of devotion and describes its purpose: to educate and elevate people to the position of pure devotee and to explain the concept of Bhakti Rasa. Bhakti Rasa is the spiritual pleasure of devotional service, which one can taste by being trained in the science of devotional service. That's pretty clear and very important because there's a lot of confusion. If people read too many other books, they get confused about what is and what is Bhakti and what is Raganuga and what is sadhana and all those things. In one sense, they're all one. So we'll move on. Kumar Prabhu, you can read the introduction one. All right. Haribol, you still there? Yeah. Now we have Rupanuga Bhakti on.
That you read the introduction?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just read it.
Evoking,
sentence,
evoking. Sorry. Okay.
No, don't read the whole.
The preface.
From the guide, from the lesson book, there's a summary.
The lesson book, okay.
It's right from the start. I just read the one paragraph for preface, and then there's one for introduction. Just to, it's just to give idea what is coming up.
On the lesson book.
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Preface of the Nectar of Devotion will teach us how to turn the one switch that will immediately brighten everything, everywhere. Hare Krishna. Maharaj, please, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, introduction.
We can hear you. This is it on the screen.
Introduction.
The shark that dwells in the ocean do not care for the rivers which are gliding down into it. The devotee eternally lives in the ocean of devotional service, and they do not care for the rivers. In other words, those who are pure devotees always remain.
Where are you reading from?
The ocean.
Where are you reading?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, where are you reading?
It's on the screen now.
I'm reading the introduction.
It's on the screen. It's just
it's on the screen. What?
Okay.
What you are supposed to read is what I'm displaying on the screen.
Okay.
Not the book itself.
On the screen.
Student manual. Student manual. And it's on the screen.
His network is not good.
But
Everybody else has it right
yes,
there.
I have it. Can I go ahead and read it?
Introduction, definition of pure devotional service.
Hare Krishna.
So Rupanuga Prabhu,
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, you can read.
Hare Krishna. Okay. The author invokes auspiciousness by
Start from the preface
establishing.
altogether again, because it wasn't clear from the beginning. Start from the preface, then to introduction.
Okay.
Right there, where it just says introduction. Just that quick
Introduction.
thing.
Maharaj just said we should start
Okay,
from
go
there.
ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
read it.
The author invokes auspiciousness by establishing Krishna as the objective of the book, by offering obeisances to the Lord, his Guru, and the Vaishnavas, and by offering benedictions. After giving an overview of the whole book, he gives the definition of pure devotional service, which is the thesis statement upon which the entire nectar of devotion expands.
So
Hare
that's
Krishna.
a lot, right? All right, now who else do we have there?
Yes, Maharaj.
Raganuga, chapter 1.
Hare Krishna. Chapter 1. Characteristics of
Yeah,
pure
read it.
devotional service. Pure devotional service is so sublime and satisfying that devotees engaged in Krishna service don't want anything besides that service, not even the liberation of Shalopya.
Salakya.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, I'm not hearing anything.
Yes, finish.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
We read that chapter 1 then?
Yes, he read the chapter 1.
Okay, then there's
But
second
I didn't read
Lahari.
the Lahari, Sadhana Bhakti.
Second. Who is reading?
So this,
Yeah,
yeah,
Mataji, you can read.
read for a while.
Yeah, second Lahari, Sadhana Bhakti, chapter 2 to chapter 16. This wave is divided into two parts as follows. Part 1, chapter 2 to 14. Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, following the rules and regulation. Part 2, chapter 15 to 16. Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, spontaneous devotional practice.
Okay.
Should I read?
Read
Yeah,
chapter 2 and chapter 3 also.
Okay, chapter 2, principle of sadhana bhakti. The three categories of devotional service are described with particular emphasis on sadhana bhakti. One's eligibility for practicing sadhana bhakti is attraction to pleasing Krishna. And the most important part of this process is to always remember Krishna and never forget him. Chapter 3, eligibility for accepting devotional service. The uh, prerequisite for beginning devotional service is attraction, which is obtained by the mercy of devotee. Advancement in Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti depends on one's level of faith and knowledge of the scriptures. When one is free from the bodily concept of life while having the exclusive desire to serve Krishna, he is qualified to practice pure devotional service. Hare Krishna.
Would anybody like to comment or ask a question about that? Okay, let's Raganuga then read us chapter 4 and chapter 5 summary.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Okay, wait. All right.
Yeah. The part 2 is like Raganuga Bhakti, spontaneous devotional service. Like how it is spontaneous.
Well, that's what
Like-
we're going to read when we get there. Prabhupada described it just like voluntary sadhana. We may think, I vowed I have to do this, you know, but spontaneous means you just do it out of love. You don't think I have to or any reason, you're just doing it. That's one definition Prabhupada gave. It's the same activity, but the consciousness is different. Activity is the same. The sadhana bhakti and the spontaneous are doing the same thing, but with a different consciousness, out of pure love and everything. That develops automatically from doing the regular Bhati Bhakti sadhana. Is that all right?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you,
So-
Maharaj.
It's coming up.
Hare
All right.
Krishna.
Raganuga.
Chapter 4. Pure devotional service free from desire for liberation and sense gratification. Further evidence is given in support of the statement that devotees are free from the desire for bhakti and mukti. Devotees of Krishna in Vrindavan reject the desire for all liberation, even personal liberation to Vaikuntha. Chapter 5. Pure devotional service is self-sufficient and independent. Generally, to practice self-realization, one must have a great deal of preliminary qualification, such as pious birth, purification through Vedic rituals, and following Varnashrama Dharma. Bhakti is not dependent upon any of the above three prerequisites. Devotional service is the constitutional position of the living entity. Therefore, both the process of bhakti and eligibility for bhakti are independent of considerations of birth, caste, community, and other processes. Hare Krishna.
Okay, good. Next.
Chapter 6. Ways to practice devotional service. Srila Rupa Goswami lists the 64 items of devotional service.
Okay, okay, go ahead.
Chapter 7. Evidence regarding devotional principles. Here the first 18 items of devotional service, the 10 pravritis do's, and the first 8 nivritis. Don'ts are further explained.
Okay, so you see how he builds everything up. First, he just lists all these things, and then bit by bit, he's explaining each one.
Yeah.
So it's pravritti and nivritti. That there's a verse in the Gita about the demons. Pravrittim cha, nivrittim cha. They don't know what to do, and they don't know what not to do either. So they're always bad. So we need to know what, just like in any, if you're living in the country or you're driving a car or you're doing a business, you have to know what's legal and what's not legal. You have to know what to do and what you shouldn't do, and when to do it and how to do it. So Nectar Devotion is giving us every detail like that. Really spectacular thing. All right. Then heavy one, offenses to avoid. Who will read next?
Raganuga Prabhu, you read. There are only two of you.
Hare Krishna. Chapter 8. Offenses to avoid. Here, the 19th item of devotional service. Carefully avoiding the various offenses in chanting the holy name of the Lord or in worshiping the deity in the temple is described. 32 offenses are listed from supplementary verdict writings, and others are listed specifically from the Varaha Purana. The 10 offenses against the holy name, as found in the Padma Purana, are listed here. Chapter 9, Ways to practice pure devotional service. Scriptural evidence is given for items 20 through 42 of the 64 angas of Bhakti, with emphasis on deity worship, chanting, and prayer.
Okay. Then,
Chapter.
again, more of the same. There's quite a few chapters on how to practice. What's next? 10?
Chapter 10. Ways to practice pure devotional service. Scriptural evidence is given for items 43 through 46 of the 64 angas of Bhakti, with emphasis on hearing and remembering. Chapter 11. Ways to practice pure devotional service. Scriptural evidence is given from item 47 through 53 of the 64 angas of Bhakti, with emphasis on servitude, friendship, and surrender. Chapter 12. Ways to practice devotional service. Scriptural evidence is given from item 54 through 64 of the 64 angas of Bhakti, 5 of which are considered to be the most potent forms of devotional service, with emphasis on the festivals and the 5 most potent forms of devotional service.
Chapter 13.
Just stop for a minute and think, see how this is telling absolutely everything we need to know. Like any question anybody answers, how to, why to, where to, everything is in this book. So it's considered like, along with Bhagavad Gita and Srimad-Bhagavatam, the very essential book for us to study and practice, because everything is there. How to do deity worship, what to do, how to do it, why, And it's mainly about consciousness. It's not exactly technical instructions. That's someplace else, but it's the consciousness of what we're doing, with devotion, chanting, all the different activities we do. That's why we're called Rupanugas, because we're supposed to be following this book. He's the Rasacharya, and here he's giving us the Bhakti Ras. Bhakti Raksamrita Sindhu, the nectar ocean of Bhakti. Bhakti Ras means the taste, the flavor, the feelings. Okay, chapter 13 and 14.
Chapter 13. The 5 most potent practices of devotional service. This chapter completes the discussion on the 64 items of devotional service. It elaborates on the wonderful effects of performing the 5 most potent forms of devotional service described in chapter 12, and begins to discuss some items wrongly considered to be anga of Bhakti. Chapter 14, the relation of devotional service to other spiritual practices. Srila Rupa Goswami continues to explain why certain items commonly thought to be anger of bhakti cannot be accepted as such.
Okay, well then, that's pretty far out. So that's, the next starts with the spontaneous, which we ask about. Who knows the 5 most potent activities? Any of you? Who knows? One of them?
Most.
Chanting the holy name, worshiping the deities, visiting the holy places, taking Krishna Prasadam. Is that so?
What is it?
Yeah, I'm just helping out, Maharaj.
That's 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
Association of devotees.
That's not exactly an activity, but yeah, it's reading Srimad-Bhagavatam. Okay, we can move on. We'll read the next one.
Chapter 15. Spontaneous devotional service. Ragatmika Bhakti. This chapter describes Ragatmika Bhakti, the spontaneous devotional service of the eternal residents of Vrindavan. Chapter 16. Spontaneous devotional service in practice. The process of Raganuga Bhakti, spontaneous devotional service in practice, is described.
Okay, so this is something that's very important because by mental speculation, and we've heard a lot of wrong ideas about what is spontaneous, what is Raganuga Bhakti, and all these things. But Rupa Goswami is telling exactly, and if we stick with that, we're Rupanugas, and everything is, to follow the scripture. So the 5 most potent activities are residing in Mathura, rendering service to devotees, and that's different. So many things are given in this book. Okay, so read on. Just a couple more chapters.
Third Lahari, Bhava Bhakti, devotional service in ecstatic love. Chapter 17. Definition and attainment of Bhava Bhakti. This chapter describes the process of rising to the platform of Bhava Bhakti, ecstatic love for Krishna. Chapter 18. Symptoms of Bhava Bhakti. This important chapter examines the characteristics of a person who has developed ecstatic love. By studying them carefully, one will understand the difference between the ecstatic love of a genuine devotee and the so-called ecstatic symptoms of a pretender. Fourth Lahari, Prema Bhakti, Devotional Service in Pure Love of God, Chapter 19, Prema Bhakti. In this chapter, Prema Bhakti and the means of attaining it are described. The development of Prema is a gradual evolution beginning with Shraddha.
Shraddha.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. 5 most potent forms of bhakti. Chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hear and discuss Srimad-Bhagavatam. To offer service to the deity at home or in the temple. I think we said all of them, right? To associate with the Lord's devotees. Mataji said that. To live in a holy place connected with Krishna. Now, anybody can say what that means and live in a holy place connected with Krishna.
Where is the presence of God? Like all our temples are like Vrindavan, so we can stay nearby.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that everybody has to move to Vrindavan or Mayapur.
No, the Prabhupada said that our temples are like Vrindavan.
Yeah, wherever Krishna is being worshipped,
Yeah.
wherever there's devotees who are, busy worshiping Krishna, that's the holy place. Of course, Vrindavan and the actual physical holy places are special. There's no doubt about that. But not that everybody has to run off and live there, because some, like, of course, our acharyas, they lived in holy places. Like many of our acharyas, they never went to Vrindavan, especially Haridas Thakur. Many that are major acharyas, they didn't go to Vrindavan, never. Of course, they lived in Puri, lived in Mayapur. They didn't see any difference. And Prabhupada, he said he wanted us to go to those places also. They have special power because they're powerful no matter what. But as long as there's an atmosphere where people are busy worshiping Krishna, that's a holy place. But someone can be in Accra and mind is in Vrindavan, like Prabhupada said quite a few times. He said, I'm not in Los Angeles, I'm in Vrindavan. But he, everybody that was sitting there, they thought he was in Los Angeles because that's where they were. And he said the same thing about New York, in many places. I am in Vrindavan. He was always in Vrindavan, no matter where he was. Same as Krishna. Krishna never leaves Vrindavan, but he goes to other places, but he stays in Vrindavan also. He never leaves Goloka, but he comes to Gokula. There's no difference. So that's to get a start. And I guess like after that, it gets more and more into, but I just like to go over all this summary stuff first, So then we have this nectar devotion, additional notes and charts. So this is another way of presenting the same thing. Of course, it goes a little further. No, this goes beyond. This tells the whole book, but no harm in looking at that also. Eastern division is called the Purva Vard. Can you see that? You got that on the wall there? There's this four bubbles kind of. There's four divisions: north, east, south, and west. Purva is west, I think. That's Bhagavat, Bhakti, Veda. And that's varieties of devotional service. That's what we just went over up through chapter 19. Then the Paschima is Eastern, or maybe that's Western. There's a train called Pura Paschima, goes east and west. Mukhya Bhakti Ras, that's preliminary loving relationships. Next, Dakshina, south. Samanya Bhagavat Bhakti, general symptoms of transcendental mellow, chapter 20 through 34. And then Uttara. Then Paschima, chapter 35 to 44, preliminary loving relationships. And then the end of 45 to 51, indirect loving relationships. It's very amazing, psychologically, philosophically, how deep it is, but also it's simple for Prabhupada. Well, Rupa Goswami gave it for everybody. So here's another overview of what we just read. So who can read that? You see it? You have it up there? Because I'm looking in my book, so can you put that on the screen? Oh, Anandana Das, welcome. Welcome. Can you hear? Are you muted? Let's welcome Anandina Dhanam. He's silent. Okay, Raganuga, you can read that little thing. I can't share
Hare
it.
Krishna Maharaj.
Can you put that up? Unless you have the book.
Yes, please, I have the book, but please.
There's overview of Purva Vibhag, and that's what we just read, the Eastern Division.
Overview of Bhava Vibhaga, Eastern Division, chapter.
No. Who's putting it up? It's wrong. You got to go further.
Yeah, this is it.
You went back to the beginning. This is onward from what we just were looking at. Now you're getting to something completely different. Gone way too far.
Yeah, I'm trying to go back to the beginning.
What we're looking for is Nectar Devotion, additional notes and charts.
Yeah, this is the
This is
one.
what we.
So I just read the
Yeah.
northeast, west, south.
Yes, this is the one.
Then there's a little square thing, which
Down.
is an overview of what we just read.
Down,
The Laharis are waves,
down.
the subject, and then the chapter.
Yes, this one.
Got it?
Yeah,
Okay, so read it.
Overview of Bhava Vibhaga. Eastern Division, chapters 1 through 19. We have a table, and the headings are Laharis, waves, subjects, and chapters. So 1, Shamanya Bhakti, general description, introduction 1. 2, Sadhana Bhakti, practice, chapters 2 through 16. Then Bhava Bhakti, ecstasy, chapters 17 through 18. Prema Bhakti, pure love of God, chapter 19.
Okay, so that's what we're going to go through. That's, any one of those is a lot, and they could be discussed forever, but see what comes up next here.
Definition of Uttama Bhakti.
Yeah. So it's good to go over all this stuff, because these are things we hear, and just to give an idea what we're going to look, and if anything you get really interested, you can look up. So definition of Uttama Bhakti. Uttama means topmost, beyond Tama. Tatastha Lakshana. I'll read it. Anya Vilasita Sunyam Jnana Karma Adina. This is a verse that is quoted, I don't know how many times, but so many times throughout all of Prabhupada's speaking, writing, letters, everything. It's the most important, one of the, real sutras we have to really know. Anya, other desires, 0. No monism, no fruitive activity. Anya Jnana Karma, not contaminated. Pure Bhakti. Anukulyena Krishnanushilanam. Krishna should get pleasure from it. Devotee's attitude towards Krishna should be favorable. Swarupa Lakshana. Krishna and his expansions, Krishna's paraphernalia, Krishna's devotees. When it says Krishna, it means all those things. Anushilanam, constant activity, following predecessor acharyas. So that verse, everybody should really study. It's from the Nectar of Devotion. And like I said, it's quoted, especially in Chaitanya Charitamrita. It comes up like constantly. All right. So let's see. Who would like to read this one? Now, has Anandina Dana, have you unmuted?
Yeah, all right. I'll beg to offer my humble obeisances.
Voice Prabhupada. So can you read this section?
6 characteristics of Uttama Bhakti. Leshakshni, relief from all kinds of material distress. I can see, I have to make it big a bit. Okay. Relief from all kinds of material distress. So material distress in 3 cause 6. A, pam, sinful reactions. B, bijam, material desires. C, avidya, ignorance.
Okay, this is very interesting, because the general tendency is when we have material distress is to blame somebody for it. Find out who's making this trouble for me, that I can punish them. This is not, what's in here. It's our sinful reactions and our material desires and ignorance. Because the pure devotee, no matter being attacked, from all sides, he won't feel material distress. He'll just feel like challenged. Okay, Shubhada, all auspicious. Read that.
Yes. Shubhada, all auspicious. D, compassion for everyone. E, attracts everyone. I, produces good qualities. Then G, bestows superior happiness.
Okay, so we know for sure that Srila Prabhupada really personified that, right? He was compassionate for everyone. He attracted everyone.
Yes.
He made everyone good who came in contact with him. And he gave superior happiness. That's why we're all here. That's why this movement is spreading all over the world, and people are giving up sinful activities, which, you know, we're taught is the source of all happiness. All right, next.
Muksha Laghu Takrit derives conception of liberation. Sudha Labha really achieved, as H cannot achieve by own efforts. Then I, Krishna really awards it.
Now that's all described. It's in the early part of the book, but rarely achieved.
Prabhu, is it behind you that we're getting sound from?
Pardon me?
Some sound is coming from the background. Is it from your end?
No, right now I'm at the temple. There is no sound here.
Oh, so where is that sound coming from? Go ahead.
Okay.
Sunananda Vishesh Atma. That's an incredible little sentence there. Somebody asks you, what is Krishna consciousness? You can say this. Incalculably condensed bliss. Sounds good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Huh? Anybody want that?
Incalculably condensed bliss.
Can't calculate, can't measure it. Condensed bliss.
Condensed bliss.
Condensed means the essence, you know, like condensed milk. You all like condensed milk, right? It's very thick. Pure. Lord Chaitanya liked it. We like that. Condensed bliss. Okay, one more. Krishna Karshini. This is about Uttama Bhakti. The only means to attract Krishna under the control of the internal potency of Krishna. All right, so Dina, since we asked early, Anandini Dana. Yeah, we were asking everybody to give some of their realization, how they experience Srila Prabhupada's books, how they think how important they are. Everyone else spoke. So would you like to say something?
So I find it difficult hearing you. We're saying
Raj is asking,
yes.
In the beginning of the class, every student is asked to express in their own words,
Yes,
what is their experience of Srila Prabhupada's books and why they are taken to Krishna consciousness.
Oh, well, okay, thank you. Maharaj, once again, I beg to offer my humble obeisances. I tried to join from my house, but the network wasn't good until I reached the temple here before I've been able to join. That's why I joined late. So please pardon me. Well, actually, this form of Vedic culture, from where I'm coming from, it's like this sort of practice is there. But as to why they are doing certain things, I don't understand until when I met the Hare Krishna devotees, and through asking questions, then they'll be able to tell me the reason why they used to do this, they used to do this, they used to do this. But meanwhile, I've been seeing this, the part of the world that I'm coming from, which is part of our culture. So when I met the devotees through the questioning and answering, in fact, the whole thing became very enlightening to me. So I have no other option but to join. But I see it as my route. So that's why I'm here now. So thank you, Maharaj.
What about reading the books? Which book did you read?
Yeah, actually, the science of coming back, reincarnation and karma. That's the first book I've ever read. And as I said, in my culture's tradition, they've been saying this, that definitely if one dies, he has to come back. But as to what happens before someone comes back, they've not been able to tell me until I read that book. Then I got the realization so that this actually is what our people have been saying. So that is why I find this movement very interesting. That this is where I have to belong to. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Yeah. What other books have you read?
Yeah, I read Christ and Krishna, Raja Vidya, so many books back in the days.
All right, so it's good you're reading Nectar Devotion now. Please read Bhagavad Gita also.
Thank you.
Now, this is important. This one is the next little section here is the 4 kinds of sinful activities. And maybe we can think about where we stand and okay, so you can read this one, Anandini.
Okay, yeah, Maharaj. 4 kinds of effect of sinful activities. Okay, yeah, thank you for making this big for me, bro. I'm using mobile phone, so proper dear falam papam kuntam bijam falum mukam kamena iva valigeta Vishnu Bhakti Rakta Manam. Quoted in Padma Purana. Quoted in Bhagavad Gita 9, chapter 2 or so.
Chapter 9, text number 2.
The screen is not stable, so probably the thing is going through and through. So
okay, I was showing you the quotation. Quotation is Padma Purana, quoted in Bhagavad Gita chapter 9, text number
2. Yeah, chapter 9, text 2. Yes, please. Then papam, sin to aprarabha, unmanifest reaction, to kutam, sinful propensity, down to bijam, sinful desire. That is prarabdha, manifest reaction, palun mukam. That is found in Nectar of Devotion, chapter 1. Hare Krishna.
So that verse is quoted, it's in the purport in chapter 9, verse 2, but it doesn't give the translation. But the sinful activities, papa means sin, then up, prarabdha means the hasn't manifested yet. It's like a seed. First there's sinful desire, then we make some sin, then it It may not manifest right away for various reasons, because someone might have a lot of pious activities also that's protecting them for the time being. Or they may have done some pious something, but then there's kutam, sinful propensity, and then prarabdha means manifested. So there's sinful reactions that have not manifested yet, but something will come, we don't know. That's why some people seem to be living a very pious life, but they're suffering so much. They're getting reactions from previous life. Then there's manifest reactions, things that we're getting right now, getting the reactions for. We're in the process of suffering. And then there's the things that we've already finished. We've already got the reaction. It's Bhati in the first place. It's a reaction to our previous sinful activities and pious activities. So the 64 items of sadhana bhakti, Raganuga,
Bhakti.
Hare Krishna, all right. 64 items of sadhana bhakti. 64 items of sadhana bhakti. 20 items of primary importance. And we have 44 additional items of service. Under 20 items of primary importance, we have 1 to 10 activities to accept Prakriti, then 11 to 20 activities to avoid.
Not Prakriti.
Prakriti.
Pravittam cha, nivrittam cha. The demons don't know what they should do and what not to do. So they're always getting in trouble.
Then under 44 additional items of service, we have 21 to 59 items of sadhana. Then 60 to 64, 5 most effective items.
Okay, now we went over that. Who can repeat the 5 most potent activities?
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj,
Chant.
they said
Chant.
service to the devotees, chanting the holy names, listening to the Srimad-Bhagavatam and its discussions, deity worship,
11:30.
live and living at any holy place relating to Krishna.
And that you include, did you say deities?
Yes,
Service to deities.
Okay.
service to the deities.
Okay, very good. So this is a basic program that Prabhupada gave us for daily activities, right? Associate with, live with devotees, serve devotees. Every day chanting, every day Srimad-Bhagavatam class. So we see how Prabhupada is, these things are coming from, ancient scriptures. Right. Next is still on unit 4. Small print. All right. So we get it. What happened? So this is another chart, breaking it down. 20 items of primary importance, 10 items to accept, praviti. Mataji can read, you see it? Accepting the shelter of the lotus feet and down. These are 10 things we should do. Still there? Haribol?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Accepting the shelter of the lotus feet of a bona fide spiritual master, becoming initiated and learning how to discharge the devotional service from the spiritual master, obeying the spiritual master's order with faith and devotion, following in the footsteps of great acharyas under the direction of the spiritual master, inquiring about eternal religious principles, being prepared to give up everything material for Krishna satisfaction, residing in the sacred place like Dwarka and Vrindavan, accepting only what is necessary or dealing with the material world only as far as necessary. Fasting on Ekadashi, worshipping sacred trees like the banyan. Prabhuji, can you
Okay,
go down? Yeah.
okay, let someone else. Now the things to give up,
Okay.
not things to give up. These are things we should
Okay.
do.
Yeah. Giving up the company of non-devotees, not instructing a person who is not desirous to accepting devotional service, not accepting unfit disciples, not being very enthusiastic about constructing many costly temples, not trying to read too many books or earn livelihood by professionally reciting Srimad-Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, not being neglectful, uh, neglectful stand. What is that, Prabhuji? This stand forwardness in ordinary dealing, straightforwardness in ordinary dealing, equilibrium in loss and gain, not disrespecting the demigod, not giving unnecessary trouble to any living entity. Then 8
Good.
offenses to be avoided. Avoiding offenses in chanting or worshipping the deities. 9. Further consideration of devotional principles. Being very intolerant towards blasphemy of Krishna or Vaishnavas. Should I read ahead?
Decorating the body.
Yeah, decoding. Okay, someone is reading.
Decorating, I'm only helping.
Okay, decorating the body with tilak, the sign of Vaishnavas. In making such tilak, sometime one may write Hare Krishna on the body, putting on flower garlands offered to the deity and spiritual master, dancing before deities, blowing down upon seeing the deity, bowing down upon seeing the deity or spiritual master. To stand up as soon as one visit a temple of Lord Krishna. To follow the procession when the deity is born for a stroll, visiting a Vishnu temple at least once or twice daily, morning and evening. Circumambulating the temple at least 3 times. Also circumambulating Vaishnava area, worshipping the deity in the temple according to the regulative principle. rendering personal service to the deities, singing, performing sankirtan, chanting, offering. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, man.
It's a long list.
Yeah. Prayers, submission. Okay, you are reading, Prabhuji.
You can go ahead.
Okay. Reciting notable prayers, tasting Mahaprasad, food from the very plate offered before the deities, drinking Karanamita, smelling the incense of and flowers offered to the deities, touching the lotus feet of the deity, seeing the deity with a great devotion. Haribol?
And offering artik at different times.
Yeah, times observing Aarti and celebration of the Lord.
Okay, stop there.
Here.
Stop there.
Okay. Okay.
This is interesting. This one, tasting Mahaprasad, food from the very plate offered to the deities. Now, when I joined Hare Krishna, that was very, special thing. They saved that special and they'd go around and everyone get a little bit, and it was something special more than just the other prasadam. Everything's prasadam. But you see, like now in the shops in Mayapur, everyone says Mahaprasadam, even though it's just cooked, practically in a factory. They're just for sale. Mahaprasad really means what it says here. Right off the plate to the deity. You clean the plate first, and devotees have got different ideas, like they just dump it all back into the pot. And I've seen devotees think they thought that's what makes the other, makes it prasadam when you mix the Mahaprasadam into it. But actually it's special. And we should certainly serve, everybody gets a little Mahaprasad, and it's special. It's right off the deity's plate that Krishna actually put in, he eats all of it, it's all accepted as prasadam, no matter it's in the pots in the kitchen, but it is different. But that's all prasadam. You don't have to mix in merge everything together. That's like Mayavada, merge all the maha into the pot, and then everything becomes maha. It doesn't work that way. All right. And Charnamrita is very important. A lot of devotees don't. I see, like in some temples, Charnamrita, nobody pays much attention, but if they go to Mayapur, they'll stand in line for 20 minutes or a half hour to get Charnamrita. But Charnamrita is everywhere. It's a nectar from the lotus feet of the Lord. All right, someone else can read this next part. Techniques for hearing and remembering.
Hearing about the Lord and his pastimes from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and similar books. Praying to the deity for his mercy, expecting the Lord's mercy, remembering the deity, meditating upon the deity, rendering voluntary service, thinking of the Lord as one's friend, surrendering everything to the Lord, offering a favorite article, such as food or garments, taking all risk and performing all endeavors for Krishna, being a surrendered soul in every condition, pouring water on tulasi, regularly hearing Srimad-Bhagavatam and similar literature, living in a secret place like Mathura, Vrindavan, or Dwarka, serving Vaishnavas, serving the Lord according to one's means, special services to Kartika, observing a special service on Janmashtami, observing festivals celebrating the Lord's activities, worshiping the deity, hearing Srimad-Bhagavatam, associating with devotees, Sankirtan, living in Mathura. Hare Krishna.
Okay, now I had to quit now. I got a busy day today, so thank you very much. And next Saturday will be no problem. Hopefully, actually, I'm planning to be in Ghana at that time, Krishna willing. So timing can be adjusted to suitable for that. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Maharaj, for your kindness and
See
your.
what, how much there is to understand about Bhakti, But if we really study this nectar devotion, then you'll be able to deal with any questions or any kind of issues that come up. Everything is there. Details are there also about deity worship and what are the offenses. So mainly we want to get busy with positive activities. So thank you very much and hope the rest of the members show up next week.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. Please, I request all of the devotees to please kindly unmute.
Alek has moved from his
Hare
lecture
Krishna,
house to Ahobalam.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna,
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 Hare
Krishna,
Hare.
Krishna, Hare
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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Rama Rama Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna.
Rama Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Thank you very much, all the devotees. Please, I want to request all of the devotees. Thank you very much for being